What's up, beautiful people? I'm Nathaniel Perl.
And I'm Sami Scebba.
And welcome to Curious Chimps Podcast, a show where we explore the infinite complexities of the human experience.
We do not endorse anything illegal, so please, consult doctors, do your research, and for the love of all that is holy, be safe. All right, let's talk about drugs.
Curious Chimps.
So we're reaching 50. We're getting to 50 podcasts, which is, I feel weird today, so my face might not be showing it, but I'm really excited about that. It makes me happy. And you got these new pop filters, so we can go really close to the microphone.
Yeah.
We can tongue your cochleas.
It's weird because it doesn't feel like it's been a long time, but when I tell people that we're releasing episode 50 in 2 weeks, like this one's going to be episode 49, but we're at 50 basically. You can just round it up. The reaction is what gets me. Is like people, oh shit, number 50 already? And it's like, that is when I'm like, oh shit, it is a chunk of time. You know, it doesn't really feel like it at all. Like it kind of all meshed together.
When did we start? Like a year ago? 2 years ago?
No, I think end of September, November we started. Oh no, sorry, end of September, October. We started
Yeah.
We were doing Rapping in the Park. That's my reference point because it was nice out. That's it.
That's the ticket.
Anytime I need to figure out timelines, I just say, okay, we did Rapping in the Park.
When was I doing drugs and was I cold?
It's a good it's a good time marker, knowing when you do drugs. Having that date, you can refer back to it.
It's there's this thing in psychology called flashbulb memory, and it's like when you have like a trauma. Like you ask someone like, where were you when you heard that JFK got shot, or like for our generation, like when you found out about 9/11 or something.
I remember that.
Everyone does.
Yeah,
that's the thing. I was in high school, and they wheeled in. No, they didn't. They just turned the radio on. They didn't wheel in a TV, but they did that sometimes.
We had that too with the VCR.
Yeah, that's it. It's like a fucking thing made for school. Like, we're just gonna put the TV on top. The second shelf has the VCR. Or the DVD player if you're fancy.
How crazy is that that is going to be a thing of the past? Well, it's already a thing of the past, but...
all those little things get lost from generation to generation. There's the like Walkmans and Discmans and shit, you know, and then it was iPads, but now it's just all in your phone. And then it's like, also your phone is school. Also your phone is porn. Also, like, it's all getting homogenized. It's all getting melted into one Star Trek tricorder handheld nonsense.
Do you remember the Palm Pilot?
Oh my God, of course, the handheld. I want my handheld. Do you want me to hold your hand? That's like a joke from a movie, but it's like the little pen.
Yeah, it's just like this brick, basically, and you can play a couple games on it and just schedule. You can basically just schedule on it.
Yeah, it was like the businessman, like you had the little holster in your belt and shit, and it was like the first Blackberries. Like, it was... you just felt like you could get shit done, and it had your agenda in it, but it was all like Game Boy level pixelation. Like, it was like crystals. It was like LED.
It was horrible
LCD.
quality. LCD, yeah. And there was also my friend. I remember everyone had MP3 players, and the iShuffle came out, the Apple Shuffle, iPod Shuffle, and he had like a different brand. He was like the first Android dude in the early stages where everyone wanted the Apple, and he had this Creative. I don't know if you know the company Creative.
No.
They were like one of the first MP3 companies, and they were incredible what they had. And it was literally a brick, and it had like 250 gigs on it. So he had so many songs, it didn't make sense. But everyone was like freaking out over like the 1 gig shuffle, and he just had this fucking brick where he was just jamming on it.
It sounds familiar now that you say it.
Yeah. Creative. It was I don't know, I think Sony owned it, but they were just like, they had their own brand name. And I remember seeing this Creative. I've always wanted one, but it was like a $200 item. I'm like, can't afford
That's
that.
it.
Like 12 years old, I can't get this.
I know. My parents bought me like a $300 fucking iPod, like when they first came out, and it had like that blue display and like that feeling.
Those were the best ones, though.
They really were. It's still in my house somewhere. It's probably worth like something for the novelty item.
Wow. To think of that, where it was to now, what's going on with like the technology, that's insane. Like, that thing is, if you look at that now, you're like, oh, get rid of this bullshit technology. I have such a better phone. But at the time, that was like revolutionary. Yeah,
man. Before those, there was 2 of them. I can't remember one of them now, but I had this fucking thing. It looked like a beeper, man. It looked like a pager. and it had like simple buttons on it. So it was like a fucking Tamagotchi, but you're like flipping through songs. And I swear I could hold like 25 songs on it. And it was battery powered. Like it wasn't like an internal battery system or something. There was like a fucking AA, like you just slide in. And it was ridiculous. And now you got your fucking Bluetooth headphones and everything's on Spotify. Like you don't even need to save shit on your phone anymore.
You don't need space. You have the cloud. You have all these things like.
What was that show? You ever see fucking Christ, Weeds? It's just called Weeds. You ever seen Weeds? There's like a flash forward into the future at the end, at the very last episode. No, I'm not spoiling anything there. It's been out forever. Fuck you guys. But they're in the future, and like weed is like ubiquitous. You know, it's like kind of how it's coming up now. But it's like, you know, you can buy a pack of joints, you can buy cigarettes. They're showing this like kind of future of weed being very accepted, which back then it was picking up, but really not like it is now. So it was a cool way to end the show. And this kid pulls up, it's his phone, but it's literally like a transparent piece of plastic. Like it's a throwaway phone. Yeah, like everything's in the cloud, and it's this magical screen that is totally transparent. There's no way, like I don't know, like you probably can't plug in anything. There's no moving parts almost. Like it just looks like a fucking.
So it's just streaming from the cloud?
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it's fantasy in a sense. So there's not a lot of like Star Trek level like effort of how this would actually work in real life. But like we're getting there. You know, there's screens that like things get elevated and suddenly there's like a button, like a physical button. That's crazy. Or now they have like the folding screens and shit. And there is transparent glass that you can like electrify and it like turns into like a murkier glass, or there's some that are screens now, and I have no idea how that works, but it's really cool.
It's all just steps before the singularity where we just jump inside those fucking things.
I guess so.
That's where it's heading, and it's funny because we're actually talking about technology, because that's what I wanted to talk to you about that theory I was forming, but we'll get into that. But it feels like that's.
Tell me, give me like 5-10 minutes head start, and I'll start smoking. I'll just make sure I'm really stoned. I'll be like, have we ever smoked in here?
No, you're gonna be the first.
I think when Johnny and Maya were here.
Oh no,
and
you guys did smoke.
Yeah, we didn't like.
It was like
it wasn't a podcast per se. No. Like we didn't. It's not out on the internet, but we were all here getting high.
Yeah. Not me, but you guys were. I think
you and your fucking. You take everything but weed, bro.
I don't know what it is, man, but I'm like the biggest supporter of cannabis. I was all about the legalization of it, but for me, it doesn't resonate with me. I've tried so many times.
Yeah, I can't even argue with you. You've tried everything. Yeah.
And I don't know what it is. I honestly have come to the conclusion that I just don't think it meshes well with my brain chemistry. I just think maybe some genetic thing I have where it just doesn't work well. And I've come to terms with it. I have no desire for it.
That's it. I mean, some things just fuck with you. Like, I'd love to hop into your body and get stoned and see what happens.
Yeah, it's just going to be a spiral of ideas and thoughts and just me molding into my couch.
Maybe when you get high, that's how I feel when I'm sober. And then when I get high, I feel like you do when you're sober.
That's crazy.
Think of it, though. Yeah. Like, maybe you're like, this is like all these wacky thoughts. It's like, dude, what?
But it's not.
I get high to quiet my mind. Like,
it's not even thoughts that are valuable. That's the problem. It's not like I'm getting a flow of creativity and ideas. It's like I'm thinking of the most basic shit, but I can't continue the thought process. I'm losing track of it, and it just like I'm losing grip of it.
I see.
So I'm like in a spiral of just like
non-continuous thoughts.
It's not. It doesn't create panic, but it's just. It feels unproductive. It feels like I'm just trying to remember something, and it's wasting my time.
It sounds like you're like inducing like a ADD, like a stressed out, like, or maybe it's just how weed does everybody. You know, like things become fascinating, and then like the thought leads to another, and you kind of forget the point or the plot. And for you, that just doesn't mesh with your. I
feel like I get derailed, and then conversations are just a whole other ballgame. I lose grip of every conversation I'll have. So.
I guess I don't think much when I talk, so I can get high. Dude, one time I've had fleshed out like full conversations that I didn't remember because I was blasted. Bunch of fucking Special K up my nose or I don't know what. Yeah. I'm just like, dude, I remember one time I came to I probably told this story on the podcast like in our early days, but I had a crazy special K experience. I experienced the K hole and everything, and I just like come to. I'm conscious, standing up at the cashier. Like I just finished waiting in line. I don't remember getting out of the car. I don't remember walking. I don't remember ordering food, but I'm halfway in a sentence ordering KFC, and my buddy, shout out Sim if you're listening. He's just like he just kind of elbows me like finish what you were saying, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And I'm like, I just think on my feet. I'm like, KFC. Okay, I was probably ordering this.
Yeah.
Right? And like, yeah, okay. It's like every time I go KFC, bro, spicy chicken burger. It's the best.
I usually just do the fried chicken, the bucket.
That's fair. Family size, baby. Gotta.
I haven't had that chicken forever. It's just garbage, but
it's
delicious.
Really bad. It is the.
I associate that when I'm traveling on the highway. KFC is my go-to.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I love that. Well, someone was telling me how, like, the name is now KFC because they can't, like, legally say that they're selling chicken because it's like lab grown or like genetically engineered or like blended and repasted and like cut like a fucking drug dealer, like trying to save money.
It's a little bit scary.
Yeah, they're like, no, we're just KFC now. It's like, you mean Kentucky Fried Chicken? It's like, no, don't we don't say the C word here.
Leave the C out.
Yeah,
of it. That's
Kentucky Fried C.
But what I did notice, going back to the weed talk, CBD actually works really well with me. So
I remember you made me try that like full CBD weed.
Yeah, and that is actually, someone had a point to me. It's just that maybe you don't know the right weed for you specifically. And I think finding, like, because the legalization, what's actually really nice about it is you get a wide selection of very specific numbers that you can kind of test with your body.
Yeah.
And for me, CBD was fucking night and day. It actually was everything I needed out of the plant. I would do it before exams. I would do it before work, anything. I just felt like it would give me like this state of focus. Not necessarily that I need it, but if I wanted to smoke, CBD was actually really enhancing a lot of things.
Especially you're already like you work out, you've done yoga and breath work and drink coffee. Like, you know, you can change your state and be in like a way more focused state. And then is that focused state calm or is it agitated? Can you direct it? Is it clicking on and off based on your environment or your mood or something, or is it solid? Can you, like, there's all those little nuances that you live in that muds, you know, sort of.
Yeah, and it actually was one of the only things that was effectively treating my migraines.
Oh yeah, you told me about that once.
I used to get I still do, but we'll get into that too about my psychedelic, the ayahuasca experience where my migraine kind of.
Does rapé help? You ever rapéed yourself in a migraine? Try that out.
I'm curious to see, but
I heard it helps.
Yeah, CBD it definitely helped though, and I used to take Advil every time I get a migraine, and then when I would smoke CBD, it would kind of dissipate a little bit, and I would just feel it like hovering in the background, but not taking over my field vision and all that. That's
the best way I've ever heard describe how weed helps with pain. Like, I think you can smoke like till the fucking cows come home, you know, till your jar's empty kind of thing. And it's like, if you don't know how to use it or accept, it's gonna dull the pain or kind of like rearrange the pain or move the pain to the back.
It's like you're turning the dial on like a low volume. Like, it's there, you feel it. If you really focus, you'll feel that pain, but it's kind of not overtaking you. You know, it's like
you're dialed into like just one or two notches away from that channel. So you're still hearing it in the background of like the static or something, but it's not at the forefront.
Exactly.
And you can almost do that same thing when you focus on the pain and you
the boss in that shit.
Yeah, you go into the body and you really look at it, like you face it, and then you kind of try to box it in also and even kind of compress it a little bit, and you start defining like the limits of the pain, and this radiating pain effect gets very strongly diminished just by your perspective. And then suddenly you're like, wow, I'm not in that much pain, and the pain itself is very tolerable or very on and off, or it's just perspective, and you're like, well, I'm in a bunch of pain. Like I've been jumping in the pool lately, and I read about this thing because I always thought, you know, like the water hurts your ears. Like, it doesn't hurt when it's warm.
When you go in just cold water? Or?
Yeah, it's the cold for me. Like the depth hurts as well, especially if you're in the ocean or something. But like the I thought it was like infections. I thought it was like a swimmer's ear thing. But it's the fucking cold, man. Okay. And it's like, I don't know if it's because I'm not used to it anymore, if it's just going to get worse with age, or if it's because my mom had a great idea. She's like, go in slow. Like, you know, it's cold, so I just want to dive in and get it over with. But if you like
Walk in
step
there,
in, sort of, it sucks. But
chest out.
yeah,
Keep it about here. Just breathe and then dunk in.
because if I do the Wim Hof and then go in, you know. But anyway, we're losing the plot there. But it hurt so much, man, and it was like a mind-numbing pain, and I haven't felt anything like that in a long time. And I was like in the shower, and I was just like turning the heat up and trying to get rid of it, sort of. And it was so like in your brain. I feel like I have a high pain tolerance, or I can just kind of like tough it out. But sometimes the pain is like annoying.
Yeah.
Also, and it just gets under your skin, and you can't shake it.
See,
anyway,
that's how my migraines start.
Pain.
It just become like an annoying feeling, sensation, and then once I just give into it because it's starting to come in, it just takes over my life, and I have to literally lie down for 20 hours till it goes away.
yeah, no, I don't. I get headaches sometimes, but like I think I've had some big migraines when I was younger, but like when you're growing and all this shit's out of whack, and plus I was doing a bunch of drugs in high school, like who the fuck knows, you know?
But that's why
just eating sugar every fucking 10 seconds.
I gained a new appreciation and perspective of ayahuasca after that experience, because I've had migraines since, but they're like on a dial, they're like on a 3/10 max, whereas opposed to they used to be almost every time 9/10, 8/10, 10/10. So what happened was right when ceremony started, literally as the fucking candles lit and he's doing the speech, the migraine just slammed into me, and I'm like, oh fuck me, fuck me.
Cool.
I'm like, this already, the resistance got so strong. I'm like, fuck, this is gonna be bad. I felt it. Like anyone who has had migraines, you can resonate with me. You feel it, for at least for me, I feel it on the sides, in the temples, and then my vision starts getting really sensitive. So that candlelight was just like shining, you know. And then as you move your head, you get a little bit nauseous. Like it's like the calibration's off, you know.
Yeah.
So service starts, first cup, and I feel that migraine's creeping in, you know, it was coming in, and then I'm just dealing with it. It wasn't so bad. Second service, I thought each cup would kind of get rid of it. I was just like hoping so. Yeah. And it amplified it every time. Fuck.
Just 8, 9, 10, 11. You're like,
and so that's it. So then the third glass, the dial broke. Like I never had that pain in my life. And it was like someone was compressing. Have you ever watched Goodfellas? Oh no, it was Casino, where Joe Pesci was like fucking squeezing that guy's head in the vice, whatever, the vice grip, and he's just like, who did the guy he snitched on? He's like, Tommy G, this you fucking bust your eyeball out of your skull for Tommy G or something, whatever his name is. One of my favorite scenes, regardless. Anyway, that scene where he's compressing the guy's head with that vice is exactly how I felt. And it was squeezing here, and I had to leave the room, and I went outside. Well, actually, I was there, and then Mathieu came to me. He's like, are you okay? Let's go outside. So I go outside, and it's just slamming into me. Basically, worst pain in my life. And I'm saying that I've dealt with migraines my whole life. That was the worst. That was all my migraines condensed into one thing. And I realized this is some second arrow shit that Andre explained to us, that a lot of that pain I was experiencing, yes, the migraine was bad, but it's all the years of attachment to that pain, and that label I put on this. Because every time I would get a migraine, I'd just be like, fuck my day. Like, I ruined my fucking day. And I go lie down and just deal with it with such negativity, you know? So ayahuasca actually is like, you know what? We're going to give you everything you've put on this throughout the years in one moment, so you can see it all for what it is. So I was experiencing the physical pain, but all that emotional attachment from the earliest memories of my migraines when I was like 8 years old. And it was like, I was upset, you know? And so all that attached to the migraine just created this fire that is just, it's like the blue flame fire. Like, it's so strong. And what happened was I had to fucking find a way to love this thing, because I tried everything, accepting whatever, and it was just slamming. I'm like, okay, fuck, I can't fight this. I'll accept it. I love it. I love this.
Let's see what happens. I love it.
I'm like, what do you want me to do? I've done everything. I guess surrender. Like, I thought my depths of surrender were pretty high, and this was like a whole new door of surrendering and loving and accepting. And I swear to God, once I started loving it, it took time, but it started fading away, the pain, at least the emotional attachment. And then I just felt like a subtle sensation here. And that subtle sensation was like what we're talking about, tuning like with weed, where you tune down the radio and it's just like a subtle pain, but it's not affecting your day-to-day activities. I had that, and I'm like, holy fuck. Most of this pain came from how I reacted to this pain. It's not actually the pain itself. Yeah,
the flinch or the cringe, like
yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of us do that for so many things. Is the reaction is what's creating the fucking tension. you know? It's like massager. If you push on someone's trigger point, they do this, but once they breathe and relax, it actually feels better and feels good and releases. But that initial response, a lot of people, me included, live in that initial response, and that's where we're stuck, you know?
Yeah, maybe you're a little like, especially for the certain topics or the certain sensations, you're like, you have a narrative, you have a certain way of seeing it, and then it comes in and that whole like neural pathway kind of activates. It's not just the pain you're feeling.
No,
it's
the connections that you've made, the labels, the attachment. And that's why, so after that ceremony, I was convinced that it healed my migraines. I'm like, wow, ayahuasca is like, I've heard stories where it can heal people's conditions. And I'm like, it fucking healed me. I got a migraine again, but when it came, I kind of laughed. I'm like, oh, this is the migraine? This is what I've been...
Yeah, you're like, I know you now.
Yeah.
Like, you dodge it a little bit.
And it's like, I can still do my day-to-day activities. But it's incredible.
Talk about surrender though, man. Like you're trying to like accept it and let it be, but part of you was still like, fuck this pain. But then it's like, okay, I've tried everything, and this like really 180, like, okay, I love this pain. I love having headaches. Great. Migraines are dope, you know, like you're just like, I don't know what else to do.
What else can you do?
And then it worked, and you're like, love's got a weird, and I mean, it's not like a love others, love the world. It's like, it's this really weird, like using love to interpret yourself and your history and your present. Like it wasn't a concept. It was like you loved your pain in that moment. And you know that new documentary series that came out on Netflix called Unwell?
I haven't seen it though.
The first one with the essential oils was like kind of like, it had some editing trickery and like a really good director, and they were fucking with people a little bit. You know, they talked about doTERRA, and then they kind of used like the magic of movies to connect that without saying anything. But with the editing, they're just like, hey, look at this other company that is totally a pyramid scheme, and they have questionable oil quality, and it's like they're just like they mentioned doTERRA, but then they kind of dropped doTERRA because they couldn't say shit, because that's a really good company. But then they're like, this other company though, pyramid scheme. And then I talked to my cousin last night, and he's like, oh, essential oils are bullshit. I'm like, you watched that fucking documentary, didn't you? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, yeah. Let's talk, bro. Yeah. But anyway, my point was, because the rest of them are quite measured and fair. I use measured a lot, that word. Anyway, one of them is on ayahuasca, and there's this one woman who had a genetic disease where your skin hardens, and this eventually affects your organs. Like, it's a very weird disease. She couldn't,
Was it her connective tissue or just her skin?
I don't know. I don't remember the name. It was scolorio something, but it's like her moving was painful. Everything became like tough, like and kind of like curled in and stuff. And her face and everything, like she needed a wheelchair, like an inclined wheelchair. She couldn't move much. And then, I just watch it, I guess. I won't go too much into detail, but she drinks ayahuasca. Now she's done like 60 sessions, and she's like, her doctor's like, I don't understand what's happening.
Whoa.
Like her love of her situation, her whatever you want to talk about it, like synonymous to what you just said, is physically curing her of a thing that shouldn't be curable. And she's like, okay now. She's not 100%, but she was fucked before. And now she can stand up, and she could live a life. She has a dog. She goes for walks.
They can't explain this.
They have no idea what's going on. And for her, it's all like mental. It's all like something was released, because she's like, I was sexually abused. I had a fucked up childhood, like a really rough self-hatred.
Probably all affecting it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very upstream thing, you know. Like it does affect our biology, and she released something really big, and it directly started helping her.
That's incredible.
On a physical level. Yeah, and it's really incredible. It's shocking to me.
See, when I first started my research into ayahuasca and psychedelics, I was seeing stories like this all the time, like anecdotal, like not in a documentary, but real and true regardless by the people. And I couldn't help but wonder, I'm like, fuck. So I read a lot about people curing their migraines. I'm like, oh yeah, bullshit. And people curing some forms of cancer, not curing, but like enhancing the remission after treatments. I was reading a lot of that. They were partaking in ceremonies. And I just remember reading all this. I'm like, okay, it's like, because at that point I didn't do ayahuasca yet, but I did mushrooms and a few other things. I'm like, I was a little bit skeptical. And then going into this ceremony with that migraine, I understand what it actually can do and the power behind it and the healing properties. And that's why that changed my whole perspective on what can be healed and what the body can do, and the deep connection with the mind and body.
I can't imagine. I've only had the one experience so far, and it's hard to really pin down what I got out of it. And a few things are a little more obvious, but for you to have like a something that's been hurting you your whole life and is very much like more at least in control or manageable, maybe like. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but like
it's subtle. It's
that's it. If it's like a 1 or a 2 now, yeah.
I feel like the next glass I drink, it's gonna just fucking boot it out the door.
What's a migraine? Get out of here.
I honestly feel that way, and I maybe also that creates the placebo effect where that system actually fucking works. So maybe that this belief system that I'm having is actually affecting the healing process too. You know,
I think it's big. I think that Bruce Lipton talks about that shit all the time, right? And apparently he's a doctor. I don't know what he's a doctor of.
Scientist, research, whatever. He's a fascinating guy. I hope we can get him on. He's we're in contact with his team, so we'll see.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll see.
I forgot about that.
Bruce Lipton. People call him out. Tell him to join the Curious Chimps
team, family.
All right, let's get a little bit. Let's go down the rabbit hole a little bit. Get that spliff going.
That's it, bro. This podcast is brought to you by the letter weed.
Listen, we're one episode away from number 50.
That's it.
When Chanel
Fuck
comes
you,
on,
YouTube.
When Chanel comes on, we're taking.
We ain't monetized yet.
It's an empty spliff, right? Allegedly.
No, this is chamomile. What are you talking about? This is I'm smoking clove.
So when Chanel comes on, we're gonna pop some drinks. We're gonna have some wine. We're gonna celebrate something. We're not gonna get into detail till she comes on, but
you never need a reason to celebrate. That's what I learned.
Amen. Fuck it.
I just realized I need an ashtray. Oh, there's cans over there. I got it.
You got it? I can get you one.
Oh, it's still a bit in here.
I'll chug it down.
Do you care?
It's all good.
There's another can.
It's all yours, my brother.
Mille grazie.
Yeah. So
1,000 thank yous.
So Sammy, let's get into this crazy talk.
Before you jump, you're talking about like different weeds affecting you. Like,
yeah,
I have been smoking weed for fucking 16 years or something stupid like that. I have really only recently, because of Amanda, the herbalist we had on, my grade school friend, she's saying like, what are you smoking? And it's like, I never really asked the question because I never felt a large difference. But now I go for like really strong, very much on the sativa side. It is a life changer. I think I'd be better off just not smoking weed, to be honest.
How's the CBD content? Is it low?
I don't know because sometimes I see the percentages and I'm like, how is that a sativa? Like, I feel like I don't understand what's going on. I just don't know.
Okay.
Like, Google it. Fuck off. You know? But if like I've been finding and smoking sativas for the last like 2 or 3 months, and it's been so much easier to think and be alive, and I have less like all the paranoia, like all the high THC vibes that I get that you definitely get from like shatter and shit like that. It's just gone.
There's probably a CBD content in there because
I remember smoking your CBD weed and like you almost don't get high, but you clearly are high.
Yeah.
Like I was like, no, I thought I wouldn't get high because of the way you talk about this like adverse reaction to weed. So I was like, no, I'm stoned, but like, it's good.
Yeah, it's more physical.
Yeah, it's not like a weight vest. It's like a hat. You're just like, okay, let's do this.
Well put. And then I describe it kind of similar to hash. That feeling where it's like that feeling of high minus the paranoia, anxiety, and all that jazz.
That's it. That's exactly it. It's just like it's a kinder smoke. Anyway, just wanted to throw that in there. All right, so what's this? Is this like simulation theory shit? Are we going to talk about science?
You nailed it.
Okay, good.
You nailed it. But
I had 3 conversations in the last 3 days about simulation theory.
Dude,
I mean, this is the 3rd one.
The synchronicities.
Yeah, that's
because I did too. I'm not even fucking with you. I had it 2 days ago, and then last night and I'm like, I can't get into this tonight.
Let's get into it today.
Before we go there,
smoke with us, babies.
Yeah, light it up, join in, and put on your fucking seatbelts.
Yeah, put on your fuck you shoes. Dance.
The chaos right now in the world is rampant. There's so much happening. There's so much finger pointing. There's so much uncertainties, unknowns.
The chaos is chaos.
But at the same time, and I'm seeing this more and more because of our podcast specifically, but also just the people I encounter on Facebook, psychologists, the presence of psychedelics, and you're seeing it in documentaries now. It feels like there's a real momentum behind it. The presence of plant medicines, while in the midst of all the chaos, it almost feels like it's like the plants know, and they're just reaching out to a wounded society.
They're what's it called when you're like gathering the troops? You're
retreating, or not even retreating, but
not in like yeah, like the opposite of retreating. Like it's maybe it's
like
kind
a
of tactical
formation.
retreat, but yeah, you're regrouping. Regrouping. Thank you, brain. I got there.
Yeah, and it feels like there's a process happening above all of our minds. It's and this process is nature, and we can see nature operate, but we all kind of don't really know how this thing works. It's just this system that's been tested over time, and I think right now the natural forces that are happening are seeing that there's some chaos happening. There is ramifications of our actions in terms of environment and whatever's going on, and energy is also part of it. And so in the peak of all these things happening at once, there's like a surgence of psychedelic therapies coming out and research and papers. And
you don't want any, right?
No,
I just feel weird not offering.
I'm good. And it's
we just talked about it. No, I don't want to get high on a fucking podcast and all that.
I mean,
so one day,
yeah,
we'll see. We'll test your theories out about how you feel about. We'll get some strong THC.
we'll do it.
So I don't mean to cut you off, but like, so what you're getting at is like humanity is growing up, and like because of a drug trip, essentially, like we're like all of humanity is having like a collective trip, and like we're just using drugs more and more intelligently. And more on the plant medicine side.
Yeah, and maybe fucking Earth or nature or whatever is literally throwing the shoe at us, like you used in the past podcast. And it's like, there is a solution to this chaos. And like, I sound a little bit preachy here, but I really believe psychedelics have a huge role in our evolution, and will probably take us to the next stage of wherever that fucking that stage goes. But I think the themes behind psychedelic experiences, for the most part, not everyone, but I would say 95% of reported cases of any type of use report back connectivity, feeling unity, feeling as one, seeing
part of something bigger.
Yes, and
sure.
The collective, and seeing. This is where it gets fucked up. Seeing yourself in each person, and most people talk about this when they do a mushroom trip or DMT or ayahuasca. And what is happening?
Like I can explain that.
Yeah.
Please continue.
But what is happening right now is the division, this feeling of separation, the feeling of we're not connected, we're not as a one team, we're us versus them in all aspects. You're seeing it everywhere. And the psychedelics offer the exact opposite lens. And they're becoming rampant at the same fucking time. It's like they're hitting the peak. So we have the solution to, and I feel like
it's creating itself, isn't it?
And I think whether we think we're directing it or not, I think it has its own agenda, and it's coming through us. The same way bees pollinate plants without even realizing it. They take the seed from one and go to the next. I think psychedelics are using us as some type of pollination.
They might not even know what they're doing.
Maybe this is just how fucking nature works.
It's just like there was a this is going to sound a little off topic, but it makes sense. It'll make sense in the end. There was a guy wearing the sacred, like the spiral, like the Fibonacci thing,
yes,
like the phi ratio and everything. Like it's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's in nature. It's in your proportions. It's in the galaxy proportions. It's in everything. And it's like, for sometimes you can choose to be amazed by that, or you can just be like, yeah, duh. Like you can. May as well be amazed.
For me, it amazes the fuck out of me.
I think I oscillate because I go like, oh, does that mean there's an intelligent design? And it's like, does that matter? It's like there is an intelligence. It's not in the way. Maybe it's not like a free will intelligence, but there's like this purposeful. It's just shit bumping through it, like bumping into each other, like over gajillion years, and chaos just has to turn into order eventually.
Yes,
So it's like you can use that as a demystification or as a mystification. Either way, you're demystifying. You just might feel a little smarter because you're peering behind the curtain, But I don't know.
Maybe just through the chaos of a limited, infinite time, it's just multiple algorithms are working in evolution, and then this is the one that's just sticking and just spiraling through.
And fractally speaking, like this is an evolution for something else. And it might not be. I don't know. Maybe stuff just ends at a certain point or a certain wall. Like there maybe isn't a grander scheme or a destiny or a simulation.
Yeah, but maybe
Hopefully there is, but
maybe that's the pinnacle. That's where the next stage happens or doesn't happen. And we're at the pinnacle right now. How many species before us were at the top of the food chain that just fucking died out because they couldn't figure their shit out? And now we're able to manipulate our environment enough to survive and adapt, but now our biggest threat is ourselves. And if we can get past that giant hurdle, what kind of world is it going to be in? I have no clue. But if that hurdle is assisted with psychedelics, I think we're going to be in some type of unified, connected world.
I think that's the way to go. I think Terence McKenna saw it that way also. You know, like there's a necessity to take everything and to take it in a holistic direction. You know, we need to test shit on animals sometimes. You know, if we can find a better way, let's do it. But like, we also need to not cut the Amazon down. You know, like there's some really basic shit on both sides. And there's a lot of one or the other vibe because like, you know, it's creating itself. Like we were saying before, it's like siblings. You know, someone's suddenly born into your life and you're like 5 years old. Suddenly you're the responsible one, you know, and then the younger one becomes the less responsible one because they're the youngest and they have literally like 3 parents.
Yeah. Not
just the 2. And then that like there's always that what's that quote? It's like if your father was a fireman, you're either going to become a fireman or an arsonist.
I like that.
Yeah.
But that's it.
Or the third option is get the fuck woke and I don't know.
Break the pattern.
Yeah. Beat the Matrix. Anyway.
Yeah. And that's just the direction I think that's what's happening right now. And it's incredible to see because I spoke to a psychologist friend and she never done any psychedelics in her life. And she messaged me saying, hey, I think you're onto something. We just had a meeting. She works for Mindspace. And she's like, we just had a meeting about psychedelic therapy and we're going to start including it into our practice. Ketamine specifically. But that's the one in the front right now. But
yeah, that one scares me because people are like injecting ketamine into people intramuscularly. And it's like a painkiller. So like someone's at a hospital and it's like this person just decides to use ketamine to numb this person's pain. And now they're having a fucking trip
with a professional with them. It's a little the environment.
But I'm saying there wasn't a professional before. Like you were in a hospital, you hurt yourself, and they decide to give you ketamine for some reason, and now you're having a full-on fucking psychedelic experience. And set and setting are probably garbage.
You know, one of my clients, she's an anesthesiologist, and she told me one of her patients had like some severe surgery. So he asked her for like make sure I don't feel any of this. And then when he woke up after, he's like, thank you for whatever you gave me. Like he praised her. He's like, that was the best experience of my life. So it was probably, she didn't tell me what it was, but it was probably ketamine and a bunch of or at a high level dose of ketamine.
Yeah, what a fucking weird drug.
Put you into the spirit world as you're getting your physical body operated on.
Yeah. It's like, hey, you missed this spot. Like you're floating above.
So that's basically my observation of what's happening right now as the chaos is fucking climbing that mountain. I feel like there's a solution riding the same train on the opposite end, literally meeting it at the top of the mountain. Necessity is
the mother of invention. I feel like a record. I feel like I just I remember smart things people said and I repeat it.
Isn't that what
which isn't bad? Yeah,
that's pretty much all information.
Yeah, good point.
But
anyway,
it's amazing to see because while this chaos is happening, the COVID is a psychedelic trip in its own. You know, the world. What describes a psychedelic trip for you? For me, it describes it as the world that you thought isn't anymore, and then it's like stripped away from you, and you have to navigate in this foggy environment that you have no fucking experience in, and you kind of have to find yourself in the process. And you can go into the scary parts, you can go in the happy places, but you're literally just an open wound trying to navigate back to safety.
Yeah. Oh, we've talked about psychedelic experience on the podcast a lot, and it's definitely, in a general sense, it's a forced perspective. Or loss of any forced perspective. So then there's this kind of, again, a holistic view all of a sudden, like a helicopter view, bird's eye view, whatever. Anyway.
Yeah, so this experience, what's happening in the world right now, is a giant psychedelic trip where the world you thought is stripped away, and you're kind of navigating through the chaos. And that's where plant medicines are going to be shining through, because now people have questions. And I have people hitting me up allegedly for DMT ceremonies that I would never have thought would ever even think of something doing like this. So
That's always interesting when someone comes out of the woodwork and it's like, yo, you?
Yes.
Wow.
That's what I'm saying, man. And they talk about it because they heard like a guy like a Mike Tyson talking about it. So that's where I'm seeing like this.
It's gone mainstream.
But
Abort.
But that's the pollination. That's the pollination. And that's what Greg Lake spoke about. The right person doing these experiences and coming out about it can be the factor of change. And a guy like Mike Tyson, where someone's a huge boxing fan or whatever, sees that Mike Tyson had like a spiritual awakening by doing the toad and goes, what the fuck? Mike Tyson? And then starts to get curious. What is he talking about? I've been idolizing him. What has he been talking about? I'm curious too.
That's what happened to meditation. Everyone does TM now. It's fucking weird.
That's it. But that's what I'm saying, man. I feel like the plant medicine knows what's going on. It's making its way.
Well, it's funny that the chaos born of the order that we are is now relying on the order born of chaos, which is the plants. But it's not a coincidence either, because we kind of like co-evolved.
Yeah, we just forget. We forget we're part of the system.
We really do. We keep saying, I don't even know. I don't even hear it. It's like, not maybe because I'm high or something. I'm just like, yeah, man.
Yeah.
High on chamomile. It just gets me so high. It makes me feel really good.
I love smoking chamomile.
Weed's legal. What am I hiding it for?
In this beautiful part of the world, but not everywhere, unfortunately.
Yeah,
now.
well, natural law will catch you eventually.
Natural law will catch you, man. But that's it. We forget we're part of the system. We forget we're excluded from nature. You know, I think...
We forget we're not excluded from nature. You said
we forget we're not excluded from nature. And it's so funny because I think when we forget that, we're just not aware of what's actually happening. And if you can just kind of like bird's eye view it and observe it, you're seeing, like if you looked at the society as like if you can see everything like a heat map of psychedelics, the heat map of chaos, you would see it's like two blobs are forming and they're kind of meshing into each other, but we're in it. So it's hard to really see it. But when you separate, it's like, holy fuck, there's chaos, but there's solutions and it's all kind of molding.
It's funny because I'm trying to play out this heat map thing and it looks like a yin yang.
It's a fucking yin yang.
There's like a blob and then a circle.
Yeah.
There's like a this is weird. We gotta fight this, and it's happening on both ends.
Yeah.
But there's a place where they meet and have to mingle, and that's the kind of.
And they both have each other in it, right? The black has the white, and the white has the black, and they're dancing together in this spiral.
It's like a storm. It looks like a galaxy. All right, we did it. This will be our last podcast. Everything's everything else. Just shut up and love everybody.
Yeah, man.
And die with some fucking smiles.
And now, for the fun part. So.
It's already been fun so far.
I don't even know how to really word this, but we'll try. But I was thinking about the simulation theory and the idea that this is totally wacky. So it's not. It is and it isn't. There's there's no evidence or any basis. So people don't quote me on saying that I'm full of shit or whatever. I'm just fucking. We're at stoner talk right now.
I'm gonna comment. You're full of shit now. Me.
You're gonna agree with me the whole way.
Probably.
But
dang it.
Let's say there is a simulation.
I so love to argue.
Yeah. Let's say we're in our simulation right now.
All right.
And we're going under the premise that the simulation was created from the beings of the future.
Okay.
So
future humans.
Future humans created the simulation.
So we're a big Jupiter planet that's just playing out ancestral movies. Pretty much.
Okay. Based on the information they had, and they just running the simulation on all the organic material, just going. I think what's happening in the future realm or the future people that created the simulation, I think something went wrong. Something went wrong. They're reaching the end. Like something they fucked up. Something in the timeline of humanity. They messed up, but they have the technology to create simulations to see where exactly went wrong, and they can create infinite amount of simulations until they get it right to save the future. So I think what's happening right now is that we're just maybe every morning we wake up into a new simulation, a new alternative. The other one fucking died. You went to bed at the world end, and you're going to the next one, and they're observing this. They're observing this, and
that's such a good tag for this already. Let's keep going.
Yeah, and they're observing this. In some type of technology that we can't even comprehend, but they're observing this, trying to figure out the right series of algorithms that save their fucking future because they know it's coming to an end. They can't time travel. Maybe they figured out that time travel isn't possible or it's too energy fucking...
So this is the next best thing.
Create a shit ton of simulations, that are mathematically going to lead to the ending, whether it's they have the whole world mapped out in an equation, and these simulations are basically proving the equation either correct or false. And false is death, correct is we did it.
What's interesting is that would mean that we are in a predetermined world, because it's a machine that's plugged in with certain parameters, because it's going to create a certain future, which is their present.
Yes.
So it's going to run the
that's our
simulation.
limit.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
then they're going to be like, okay, what comes next, or how do we make it better next? But like we think we're alive, but we're just that booting up. We're just that processing. But it's so complex that like that spiritual side of being alive enters, and we like know that we know, like we're here, and we're like, whoa. But it's to them, running. It's literally like ones and zeros or something. Yeah.
And that's what I think is going on right now. And I think it's like, you look at the chaos, you have like a fucking Donald Trump and Joe Biden going at it for the fucking king of the throne. And like, they're like getting closer to where they found what was wrong. And like, that's where the simulation's kind of ramping up. And they're like, okay, now we're here. Like this, maybe where there's like 7 simulations left that are actually made it close, or they're observing it right now. Like all the other ones faded and died. They fucked up.
Yeah.
And these are like the 7 that they have left. They're like, okay, we got to figure out how to, and they're just observing how it plays out. And then
I see.
You see what I mean? It's So we're literally like, who knows? Maybe we're the last of the simulations just playing out, and we're getting closer to where they are right now.
Maybe we're not, but it just feels like it's ramping up, because it is. But it's like the bottom of the mountain.
Ooh.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, the Donald Trump, that's like thousands of years ago. We gotta speed this fucking thing up.
Exactly the way I'm picturing it.
But
like, man, that's really cool to.
I was having this thought the other day.
What is that noise?
She's just digging her hole.
Kano.
So
anyway,
I had this thought. I think I was driving at the time, and it was just like those. You ever get those information downloads where you just pause?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, and it's just like the vortex comes in.
It's like a movie plays or something, like an explosion in your brain.
I picture it
like the idea was already there, and you're like,
oh, yes,
and that would be. It's like it just tick, 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 tick.
I picture it as your first depiction of our logo, where the chimp's eyes rolled back and his mouth's open and like everything's being downloaded. Like that's what I picture now.
It's like, excuse me, and then you get put back and you're like, oh, I understand.
Yeah, so I was so excited to bring this up to you on the podcast, because I'm like, holy fuck! Like obviously there's
felt right.
Yeah,
yeah,
and there's no way of proving any of this.
Like you're.
I got the chills. The hair was
goosebumps.
in the back of the neck, and ooh. Yeah,
that's always a nice sign of like, I'm thinking of something that gets me aroused, or it's like this is a download.
Yeah,
something is going and then you're like, oh, I know this now. Yeah. Reaction.
But it coincides with so many things, because spiritual texts talk about this is like the end of the Kali Yuga, for example. Like this is the end of the burning of the. I think it's the masculinity, and we're entering into the femininity. I'm not even sure.
From a societal perspective, that's definitely true.
I think in the Kali too, because what's the next one?
I think we've been there for a while and are actually going towards a balance again. I think we're bouncing back. It goes through the
4 cycles, right? So there's Kali, and then it restarts to...
Oh, I don't remember the names.
Yeah, I
always forget them. I just remember Kali Yuga because there's a friend, an acquaintance, a really good yoga teacher in Laval, and he has a Kali Yuga yoga. Fucking love his classes.
Nice.
Definitely. If you live around there, check it out.
So you have that literally saying it's coming to an end soon. We're reaching the end of the Kali Yuga. You have the Mayan calendar, which was like this shift, like in 2012. There's something's going to happen. We all thought it was the end of the world, because that's what was like the mainstream storyline that sold a lot of movies and all that kind of shit.
Could just be an astronomical cycle, and then an astrological cycle as well, if you attach those. Yeah,
but so why is every text like the Mayans and the Kali Sanskrit?
Yeah.
Why like these are not related? And even in the Jewish religion, they were talking about like these are like, this is like the moments before the Messiah. They've been saying that for thousands of years, that the Messiah is coming, but they're saying that this specific timeline is very. This is a big spiritual moment in the Jewish religion. Like they believe the Messiah can come at any moment. So you have, it's actually really interesting. So you have that, you have the Mayans, you have the Aztecs, you have the Sanskrit texts, and then probably every other fucking text has something about these times, and they're all speaking about some type of awakening. So
dope.
Yeah, maybe I don't know.
Let's all be Jesus. Let's all be Jesus now. Why isn't life like a Disney movie? I just want to break out into song more.
It should be.
No blaspheming though for legits, like Paul Selig style. Like it's like Christ is a thing. Like it was a guy, maybe. Who cares? If you're into that, go for it. Kudos, more power to you. But be it.
Yeah, that's it.
Or work towards being it. You know, no pressure. We're all human.
Or live by whatever resonates with you. But he's a great example. You know.
Yeah.
If you take away the religious aspect and you just look at him as a person and what he was representing.
Religion's not bad in itself. It's the control aspect.
Well,
it's even embedded in the word and the origin of the word.
That's the problem
to
with
regulate.
That's the human ego that took over all these systems. Maybe intentionally, maybe not intentionally. Who knows? You know, but when you remove all that attachment and you just look at it for what it is very beautiful. You know, like I'm a Jewish. That's where my family's Jewish. And I'm talking about Jesus as a beautiful figure, you know, like my family would be turning right now. But
excuse me?
But the message is pure. What he's saying is like, you have the potential of being God. Your God is within you. And think of that in terms of a power structure threat. Like if you're a king with an army and
it doesn't work with the greed model.
No. And you have a bunch of illiterate peasants that you can pretty much just write the texts or teach them the text of your scope of lens to continue that control system, because the early days they barely can read. You know, to read you were like a wealthy or a royalty, right? So easy to control.
We had Jay on there, the round table there, like the full-on conspiracy podcast.
Yeah.
I can't wait to do another one for like I hated the idea at first because it's like it's just exhausting, just like in that introvert energy kind of way. But I'm looking forward to it. But I forgot what I was going to say now. Damn you, drugs.
But these things were hijacked for control. You know?
Yeah.
But that being said, back to simulation. Is this the possibility, Sammy? Is this what's happening?
I know it is, and that's why I have trouble caring about anything. Like Rick Sanchez style. Like before that show ever came out. I literally am just like, everything is brain into vat shit. And it's kind of like the nihilistic side of solipsism. Maybe you shouldn't ask me, you know, now that I'm thinking out loud.
I'm going to scare you a little bit.
Go.
What if you're the guy? You're the Neo.
I'm Jesus. I knew it. I shouldn't have cut my hair. Fuck.
But you're the Neo that they're like, fuck, he's not waking up. He's just fucking off because he knows it's a simulation. We need him to realize it.
Well, that was fun though, because Neo ends up being part of the simulation. You know, it's like
he wasn't the order. He was the chaos.
He was the pinch off of the chaos. The AI was like
that was the order.
They're like, hey, we're trying to make this thing that works perfectly, and the more perfect we try to make it, the less it works. So that we got to kind of like fuck it up on purpose to make it more human. But then there's this glitch, which is like this guy who's just like a god in the fucking Matrix, sort of. It's hard. It's convoluted, and I'm butchering it. But then he's like, they're like, okay, we know this has to happen for it to work. So we're just going to put another level of control so that like we're controlling that too. Just easy peasy fucking lemon squeezy. And he's still the one at the end, but it's like anyone could have made the choice he made. That's the point, is that he still chooses to sacrifice himself. Is that the lesson? I gotta watch those movies again.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Anyway, fuck you, bro. I'm not the one. We're all the one. I am but one man. Jesus said that shit, or someone in the Bible.
Back to our conversation, though. We're all of one. Me saying you're the one is triggering your ego, but what I'm saying is we're all the one.
Get out of my head. I'm like, I'm not the one. It's like, actually you are, but like we all are. Maybe it's not that no one's the one.
Maybe it is realizing the subjects, realizing they're in the simulation and then acting accordingly to find the solution. I don't know.
I get all this from yoga, from Buddhism, it's just like, look, all of this is bullshit. Chill out. That's you boil it all down, it's literally that.
Yeah.
I mean, or maybe chill out can be expanded to like, just like try to make yourself and other people suffer less. Because that's the only bummers. Like everything else is just fluctuating nonsense. It just boils down to choices and concepts. The concepts that we use to understand the world, which is in itself a kind of choice, and then the choices in between those concepts. I'm reductionist. I think that's kind of my problem. Help me. But someone help. Use the internet.
That's an easy concept to just throw out there, but to practice that is the hard part. You know,
I don't have a choice. everything seems pointless. The practice isn't seeing the point, is in seeing the fact that there is no point and you're just making point. Like you are a point maker.
Yeah, but to get to that state is already so difficult for a lot of people.
Which one? The everything's bullshit thing?
Yeah.
But
and that's where
it's fact.
It's fact because you've come to that realization.
Yeah.
But for some people, they're so, no, my point is my fucking job. My point is this. My fucking soccer team. Fuck you. You know, like they're like caught up in that fire. You know, you're kind of out of it and in it, so you can kind of jump back in and out.
Being out of it is my in it.
Yeah,
it's
but
actually
you
really
have
simple.
you have those lens. Okay,
Yeah, that just happens to be the thing.
And that could be that's years of your yoga, your meditation, and psychedelic use that kind of assisted in that perspective.
That is what happened.
It did for me. And yeah, I'm thinking.
I love these kinds of conversations.
Yeah, I'm thinking because imagine this: you're the guy, a person of the future, and you're like, okay, we're gonna design a society that will mathematically work forever. Like there is an equation that will be true regardless of how much you scale it.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, boom, we have the equation. Let's test it. Punch it into the simulation. Let's see which one works. And boom, simulation after simulation, they're seeing society grow, fall, or whatever, to find the perfect mixture that they're going to live by in the future.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what we're the fuck in right now. That's what I can't stop thinking about and going back to that same conclusion.
What if it's like a Toy Story situation and they don't even know that we think we're alive? I mean, like by all intents and purposes, we are alive. For all intents and purposes,
we're conscious. That's for sure. There's some type of awareness.
There's enough complexity in the simulation for us to feel like we're conscious within the context of the simulation.
Yeah.
Outside of the simulation,
but what if that was
to exist?
What if that was programmed
outside
in
of the universe?
What if that was just programmed in that the subjects could become self-aware?
Yeah, who's that philosopher who was like if there's like a lord of your life of any kind, then you just can't believe anything, because even your like ability to believe is in question. Your memories, everything, and then there's that like Neil deGrasse Tyson plays with that in a physical way, because he thinks like if the universe just came into like existence the way it is now, we would never understand or know what that means, because all the memories would come in as well. Like we would just blink into existence as we are, and that could have happened. Like there's a rational, physical sort of explanation for why the whole universe might just be a couple of days old. It's like, we don't know. Time is a really weird and relative thing. Anyway, I'm just getting a little... but that's fun. Like, what if it's like Toy Story, man? They don't know we're in here. They're just like... They're like some crazy scientist.
Maybe they lost control of it. They lost control. It's just like the button broke, and simulations are just.
Button, but like we're picturing like a thing that can generate that amount of complexity. Can probably do it like 10 times over.
We're talking.
Like we're in real life. We're living in like a seconds.
Yeah.
In like the over universe or the prime.
If you use universe. Like the calendar of the universe and compare ourselves to it, we're like milliseconds.
Yeah. It's like reboot.
Yeah.
You know, they're like, oh, I have all second to do that, and it's like because they live in a computer, they make the joke that a second is a day. Like we could just be the electrical impulses of a fucking planet-sized computer that is doing a completely different task, but we're the byproduct of it. We're like the farts of like a god thought. Yeah, that's a T-shirt right there. We're the farts of a god thought. Sami Scebba.
Yeah, man.
I did it. I can die now.
Jeez. We are God's farts.
It's fun. It's all a dog's dream, or whatever that joke is.
I can't shake this off my head, man. Out of my head. This is
Why should you? There's such a like a usefulness in like the realm of existential comfort or crisis to think about death, to think about the fact that your like time is limited. If you think about like everything isn't what you think it is, like it's like this meta death, you know, like the universe is like a transient thing.
When you have that perspective, it does take off a lot of pressure. You know, it does liberate you from a lot of fears. You know, not to the point where you can just start doing crazy, chaotic things. Some people can. You know, if that's their thing. They can walk on crazy ledges off giant buildings and just do pull-ups.
I did that once. I don't know
The
what the fuck
pull-ups?
came over me. Not the pull-ups. I didn't hang off.
Walking on a ledge, you're psycho.
Dude, I'm afraid of heights. But I taught a yoga class. I was in India, and I was like a good 25 feet up, 20 feet up. It's not like I'd live.
Okay, it's.
No, 25.
I'm
it was
talking
three.
sky rises.
It's like 3 stories.
I'm talking sky rises with those wings.
No, that's I mean, past a certain, there's a point of diminishing return. You know, like you're probably gonna die past a certain.
Where the percentage of death is actually higher than percentage of survival. That's a scary thought.
Yeah,
But-
and you could jump out of an airplane, and it's the same thing because of terminal velocity. That's always fascinated me. People have lived from that. Sorry, the drugs are taking over.
Yeah.
Focus. Help me. What were we talking about?
Simulation, Sammy.
No, but we were going into something in that. Probably.
Yeah,
I assume.
having that in the background of my thoughts in terms of navigating through life.
Oh yeah, and then I started talking about how it's like a second death or like a deeper death.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, is it though? Because I'm still the thing that I experience everything through. That's the only real death I got to worry about.
Well, the death of the story. That's the only death that you know of.
Yeah.
The death of Sammy, the death of Nathaniel, the death of the listener. That's the only death where our scope of perspective can go.
But once I get out of that death, I'll be like, all death is bullshit. If I just become some like 5D thing and I'm like, oh, I just woke up into like a greater consciousness and I'm fine with it. Like that part,
Well,
it's just an ignorance that died. It wasn't even
That's
a
it. Well,
consciousness.
it's the ego that died. It's the shell. It's
Yeah.
the story.
And then I'm like, well, I'll gladly die and become some 8th dimensional thing too. Like now I know how it works. Like,
But I think that's the purpose of this, is that at some point, at some form, we need to experience this death, and in terms of our growth. And it's like some people are so attached to the story where the death is going to be the hardest thing, and others are just like, I know, like
it's
enlightenment.
the easiest thing.
Yeah, it's like
In
the
a weird
closest
way.
thing to enlightenment is like like Matthew had a great story about his friend who passed away with cancer. He was serving ayahuasca up until that day, and he spoke to Matthew and said, like, Wednesday I'll be transitioning. I'll be gone. So if any last wisdom, ask me. And that was like a Friday. So imagine that he knew to the exact moment when he was going, and he did. On the Wednesday, he just faded away. So to me, that sounds like the closest thing to enlightenment, at least in that sense, with coming to terms with your death.
Yeah. It's like there's these illusions of mastery that come with it. Like, oh, how did he know he was going to die? But it's like he did just like lock into something, like got out of the way in some like really fundamental sense.
Fully came of it. His acceptance was so powerful,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah.
You ever think about enlightenment, folks? You ever feel it? You ever talk about it till you feel like your body's shaking out of fucking...
Maybe it is. Maybe when you pass, you literally just take off the fucking simulating goggles and say, okay, that one didn't work. Go into the next one.
Maybe.
And that's like, we've because the simulation's been running for so long, we've formed stories of reincarnation, and we've kind of, it's, you know, it's a stupid movie, but have you ever watched Sausage Party or whatever it's called?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You know, like
it's a rough movie. It's got good moments, sure.
When he like encountered the elders, the elder foods who had no expiration date or whatever, and they're talking about the beyond. It's like maybe we have like little remnants. They have like little remnants, and that's us. Or just like little realizations about the simulation. Like, oh, there's more above. It's reincarnation. You're going in, but it's just like a silly concept to them, but to us, it's so meaningful. You know?
Yeah, it's like I always think about the. I'm trying to think of like a like packaged buzzword, but like let's say ancient civilizations and the kind of like alien influence, or maybe just a higher technological or spiritual or magical fucking thing, you know, that like this great influencing thing, and we're really just like a fucking golem, you know, we're just like these things that were made for a purpose, and then they bounced, and we're just here, and we're just like trying so hard to figure out life, and it's like you're like you're like some weird like backsplash karma of like some god entity thing that is not even God. It's like in physical reality, and it might be some planet-sized brain or some fucking Anunnaki like magic spiritual technological thing that time travels and makes monkey clone lizard people and farms gold. And anyway, I'm gonna stop. Google it.
This just sparked a new thought. maybe the world isn't coming to an end. Maybe this is the code. So from we spoke about this in previous podcasts, from the beginning of time, beginning of the Big Bang, our code was forming, in stardust and whatever, and eventually into the planet that just got smashed by asteroids over and over again, till finally some type of life form was able to procreate and grow, and up until right now into us. Like, boom, that code is if you can go back, if we have the technology to look at that code all the way back, we can source it to a point of start. So what if, like, in some weird future, you're at God state or whatever, but in order to get that, you have to see exactly how your code got there. And so we're just experiencing the whole lineage of the code. And that's like, to achieve God state, you have to understand your past completely from start to finish. So we're literally just, who knows how far we're into our timeline.
It's like you're going in the direction of like a school vibe a little bit now.
Yeah, but that's been a thought of mine for a while, is that the simulated realities would be the best education. You're right, we have talked about that, and I fell in love with that. I kind of forgot about it because it's mixing the simulation idea and the school idea. And it's like, that's kind of what I like about spirituality. Like, it doesn't have to be this weird woo-woo magic thing that's extra, like it's just what's happening in real life, in physical life, but like you can't see it, touch it, smell it, but it's happening, and if you mix that, like, if you learn about yoga and you go into the philosophies, it's just talking about simulation theory. It's like, yo, this is all bullshit. Everything's God. Yeah. You're not even really here. You just think you are because of how your ego works. And they get deep into how that works. And some of it's a little odd sometimes in terms of modern psychology, but a lot of it is very applicable. A lot of it. A lot of it. And then you look at, I remember in my path, it was like 2011, I was starting to look into spirituality. In 2010, actually, and I was reading the Kabbalah. And it was saying all these yogic principles, but this is under the lens of Kabbalism, Judaism, and it was saying that your desire is an empty cup that will never fill, and you will fill your cup of desires, and then it will slowly empty, and then you'll have more desires. So we're stuck in this ego realm, and this is the Kabbalah talking, and I'm like, holy shit, this is insane, and it kind of just shifted me a little bit. And then the yoga was like, it continued that shift. It kept turning the page, and I'm observing that we aren't our bodies, we aren't our minds. We are more, but we are under the illusion. And maybe that's the fucking education system. It's just, we're living these simulated realities. We're to the point where we don't know, like, it's like an Alan Watts where you forget you're in the simulation, and to come back as you realize it's all bullshit and that love is the answer and all that kind of stuff.
I guess if you knew, there'd be no stakes. It's like playing poker without money.
Yeah, it's just not
like,
the same thing.
Yeah, I'm all in.
But maybe that was the early education. Maybe the early stages of you joining into the simulation school. It was like grade 1. Okay, you're gonna be a fucking celebrity. You're gonna have $1 million, $1 billion, whatever. You're gonna fucking party it up for the rest of and then so they're living these insane lives that most of us idolize now, but that might just be like a grade 1 or just fucking button smashing or just like completely in control of the whole game.
We've said that on the podcast also. And like, if you had the easiest, best, like, most,
and maybe we're idolizing it because we're like, the older people sometimes idolize the youth because the youth have it so easy without the responsibilities, and it's just like a fresh start. So maybe like we're idolizing celebrities, like, oh, it's such an easy life because I'm such a fucking hard game right now.
That's so funny.
That's a mindfuck, man. My head is exploding.
Imagine you die and take the goggles off, like you're saying, and then you're like, oh, that poor Oprah. Yeah. She's got it hard, she's got a long road ahead.
Yeah, it's like the reverse. It's the reverse. It's literally, oh, fuck, he has so much ahead of him.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a mindfuck, Sammy.
I like that. That's funny.
That's so crazy, man.
There's a million little possibilities like that. If you just have that's what's fun about like the idea of simulation. Like, if you have layers of simulation, then you can really distort reality. And why not use that as a tool? Why not turn it into a school? Why not turn it into some kind of factory?
I think it's just going to it's going to happen naturally, especially with what's going on in the world. It's like eventually the technology is going to come up to the predictions, and it's going to live to that example. And then why not do a simulated reality like that? If you're a marine biologist and you can put on the goggles or the suit or whatever, and then all of a sudden you're in the fucking depths of the ocean observing a shark and able to take pieces off of it and look at it. Imagine that type of knowledge that you're going to attain instead of looking at a textbook. I think of things like textbooks and stuff is like, it's like the Palm Pilot of education. It's like clunky. It works, but it's hard to really relate. But
It's
then
definitely like a younger stage.
Yes.
Of what like a better way that a lot of people would learn.
exactly,
A
and
lot of
then,
more people are hands-on.
yeah. So, but even the people that say they're not hands-on, where they can read and regurgitate, and it's not. There's always this feeling that they know, but there's something missing.
Any human, I'm sure, will agree that they're solidifying that information a lot. Like a knowledge base is important.
Yeah.
That's been proven.
But where do
for
they
some things?
Where do they get the real lessons? Is when they have that knowledge base in experience.
When you get your hands dirty.
Yes.
An ounce of practice is worth a ton of theory.
Now imagine this.
Remember that, kids.
Yeah. Imagine
Also,
this.
why are you watching this?
You can go into the simulated reality where it's 5 minutes of your physical time, but in that simulated reality, you've studied that entire textbook in physical. You've dissected the entire shark in 5 minutes span in physical reality, but in the simulation, it maybe took a full year. You looked at every piece. There's an instructor explaining, but you
Yeah.
already know it's a 5 minute.
I hate to touch them on the Matrix again, but you're literally talking about the.
Well, that's when he
I know
downloaded
Kung Fu. Yeah,
I know jiu-jitsu.
that's true. You do.
No, that's what he said.
No, he says I know Kung Fu.
Wasn't jiu-jitsu?
No, bro. You're just
We're
pretending. that.
gonna fact check this after the show.
Dude, I am. I will bet $1 million.
I will
bet
bet
money
that
I
$1
don't
million
have.
right now.
You're gonna give me $1 million? No, you know what? I don't even need to. I know he says I know Kung Fu.
We're not betting on anything.
No, you
Just-
don't have to give me money. I'll give you $1 million if he doesn't say I know Kung Fu, and if he doesn't, you don't have to give me anything.
Okay,
You
I'll
heard
take-
it here, fellas.
Fuck. Okay, we're locking this in. Contract, verbal agreement,
Yeah.
handshake.
It's been done. I'm not
Can't
afraid
wait.
at all.
Can't wait for this mill.
No, you're gonna be waiting. You're gonna be
But
waiting
yeah,
a long
but
time.
yeah, but that's basically the Matrix, right? That premise. But that's a possibility, especially, and you see it in Black Mirror too. I don't know if you watch Black Mirror.
And Dollhouse. It was a good show as well. Just like being able to, and then like, oh, I know this now.
Let's rewind a little bit. Another thing that brought me to this realization was I had a conversation with a friend about someone who Ron Jeremy, you know Ron Jeremy, the porn star. He's facing potential 200.
Sure.
He's who's that guy?
No, who is?
I don't want to get into his case. It's all allegedly. He's still defending himself in court. But
I remember. I saw that.
yeah, it's fucked up.
Yeah,
If you want to go down that lane, just look at what he did.
He's getting Me Too'd hard.
Yeah,
And I mean,
for a good reason.
Fuck,
if it's
bro.
true, I'm gonna.
but it's like it. You almost just feel like it is because it's like
It seems that way.
Look at the industry he was in and the
Yeah.
time he was in that industry. Like like it's not even his fault, but like, hey man, if you fucked up, you gotta. You might get
It's-
snapped, bro.
when you really
I mean,
look into
his
it,
fault.
it's-
It's his fault, but
yeah.
it's not his fault. You know what I mean? Like
It goes into more. That it's definitely his fault if it's true. But it's not the point I want to get into.
Yeah. Moving on.
I want to say that he's facing up to 250 years. So I had this conversation with my friends. Imagine, because they have these laws that say, oh, you're doing like 700 years, like absurd laws for like
these
people,
triple life sentences
for
and
someone who
shit.
did like an unheard of crime. Now, what if they get to a point where you could actually serve those that time?
Wasn't there this like kind of buzzy article a few months ago?
The pill that distorts time?
Yeah, it was like it's like people were trying to kind of like hone in on a psychedelic so they can make people feel like they did like these 1,000-year
Yeah, that's it.
fucking.
Yeah. So that I remember reading that. That was a few years ago. But
And I'm like, yeah, that's ayahuasca or what. I was like, yeah, that would work totally. You're just like, what has happened? Like I've lived 100 years. Like you just have that feeling.
But that same technology for simulation to teach you about the shark and dissect the shark can be and distort the time from 5 minutes to actually being 5 minutes to feeling like a whole year. So if they have that technology for school, they can have that for the prison systems. So that Ron Jeremy can serve the 250 years.
And then you're just brain dead.
But
Like,
that's
if
my
you're
friend
in
said. He's like,
solitary-
you're just going to short circuit the brain and just come out like this.
They showed that in Black Mirror also, like the guy
it was
who was
just too
getting
much.
electrocuted forever, and he was just kind of done.
Or maybe it's going to be like the new like this is going to be like, there's going to be some fucking people that are just going to short circuit, but they're going to use them as guinea pigs till they figure out what's an actual sentence that can be given that won't fuck you up, but will be just.
What if they make it so you kind of can't short circuit? So then you're always kind of short circuiting, and you're just like, I can't even lose my mind and be free of this.
That's the scary part of it, because
That was in Black Mirror also.
yeah, imagine that though. You're in prison and you look at the guy next to you. It's a simulated prison, and you're like, "How long you in for?" He's like, "I'm 30 years in." "What's your sentence?" 2,000 years.
It also somehow feels like it's the first day every day, but I don't want to talk about it.
Fuck, that's a scary thought.
There was a movie on Netflix also where it's like you take you put like drops in your eye and it's like some kind of pharmaceutical psychedelic, but like you are 100%. It's like this very complexly designed drug, so you literally feel like you're in solitary confinement for like 5 years or something. Jeez. And then like the movie's cool because it's like you can kind of like beat the Matrix. You can like fight through it because you know it's not real, and you like, I don't know, like you can wake up maybe, or you can, I don't remember the movie, but like it was very terrifying because the people making it were just like, we have to test this sort of like, and I won't.
There's going to be guinea pigs.
Yeah, I don't want to ruin it because it was kind of a cool movie. I don't remember what it's called though, so I can't even direct people to it. But
just type "eye drop psychedelic movie."
Yeah, or that is a weird sound.
Yeah, my dog likes to stay in the studio, and she's a
cop apparently.
Yeah, she's in the simulation right now.
Oh, is that what's happening?
But yeah, man.
Is she dreaming?
That's the scary side of this technology. That I think it's inevitable that we're going to reach a state of technology, if we don't kill ourselves, that we can recreate an environment that is identical to this one.
Because like a new level of torture. I don't think we're going to go there. Anyway, keep going.
Well, I mean,
I hope not.
If that's where education goes, that technology can be used for every industry, for video games, for watching sporting events. You can literally be in a simulated stadium, because especially now with this whole social distancing, if this market is like this for the next 10 years, that's where the VR is going to ramp up. You're already seeing it with the internet and how businesses are completely changing their structure for forever, basically, you know? So once the simulator, let's say, call it the Oculus, whatever you want to call it, starts to really be, really show itself, it's going to be applied for every industry. And so where was I going with that? Where the fuck was I going with that? I just lost my train of thought.
Got a little contact high there.
Yeah, maybe it did. This room can just get you high anyway. Something about prison? No. Anyway, it'll come back to me. But yeah, man, that's where I think it's heading.
I hope not. Because like I said before, isn't that already kind of what ayahuasca is, or what shrooms is? Like it wrinkles your brain. Like, to quote Troy from Community, like it fucking gives you, like, it just physically, that's what getting high is like you just have this, like, you know, like something comes in and just like forces you to think a new way, and you're just like, it's like a dream. I always talk about that, like you have this compressed knowledge. It's like a zip file, you know, like you just get all this like brain activity, but then when you come to, again, air quotes for all of this, but like it's like it's like a zip file that unzips, and it's like all of a sudden it's as if you had these memories of like a time passing. So and it's expressing itself like a simulation, maybe, but it then manifests in the prime reality as like a download, because you just like something, it like compressed, expands in a short amount of time. It's fucking unnerving or uncomfortable, and then you're like, oh, I know kung fu. Like, holy shit,
jiu-jitsu.
Sure. Just start breaking shit. Sure, man. We'll see. I don't have $1 million, guys. We'll gotta start the Patreon or something. We'll get there.
We'll do a GoFundMe. Help Sammy pay Nate off episode 49's bet.
It'll just be like the bet. Like, that's the name of the episode.
Yeah.
I love it.
Who fucking knows, bro? It's a fun idea to dance around. The thing is, if you look at psychedelics as a kind of like a simulational thing that shows you're in the simulation, the way I see these things will be useful is not for that kind of stuff. I think it's going to be useful for skills, like the whole simulated realities.
And you just suddenly know how to do shit.
Yeah, like you can't do ayahuasca and then you just all of a sudden can be an electrician.
Maybe one guy once. Yeah, it's like
he's just listening. Fuck you, man! I fucking did it. I'm not an electrician.
Yeah, you just think you've been an electrician for 10 years and you're like really bad at it, and you're just hurting yourself all the time.
But then
just yelling at people on job sites.
But that's where, if we do create that technology, that's
such a good sketch. I'm sorry.
It's a great animation.
Okay.
If we do create that technology and you can basically do any trade in any given time and learn everything the way Neo learned jiu-jitsu.
God, that'd be dope.
Yeah, but it would also be like you've achieved the cheat code in the game. It kind of gets boring after a while. It's like you know everything.
But if you're experiencing it just quickly,
Yeah.
then it's like you did the work.
Yeah.
But you just get to back in and 10 seconds pass. It's a hyperbolic time chamber.
But
It's
then
literally Dragon Ball.
But then when you do everything possible, when you can just...
Well, no, okay. I've actually thought of this because of the show The Good Place. And spoilers, I'm sorry. I'll try not to spoil anything. But like in the later seasons, in the last episodes, there's one character who, because they're dead in the show. It's like the first episode. That's not a spoiler. Like they're dead. They're in the afterlife. The Good Place, man, such a good show. That ended so well. But there's this one woman who literally has this like million tasks like list that she wants to accomplish. Like once the show kind of settles down and she realizes she has like eternity to do whatever she wants, other people are like just doing this and that or finding ways to entertain themselves, but she is like learning how to do everything. Literally wants to be a master like painter, driver, car manufacturer, sculptor, like wood carver, teacher, like a musician, everything. She just learns how to do fucking everything, learn every language, everything. She just becomes this powerful genius. And then at the end, she realizes, she's like, maybe I can like dissipate now and die forever because I feel like I've learned everything. And she realizes that there's like angels sort of, or like there's like these higher entities that are like running the afterlife. And she's like, I want to run people's afterlife. Like that's the last thing to learn. And she does.
That's
like,
essentially like a God state or like angel
sort of
guide state.
But the reason why I bring it up is because I don't think everyone has that same drive. And it's like this is still kind of wrapped in karma. Like this person is dead, but she's still very much who she was on Earth. And she has a genuine need to fulfill this endless curiosity, and she has the opportunity to, so she does. And not everyone feels that way. They might just be really satisfied getting good at one of those things and becoming a fucking master, and also putting a really cool spin on it, or I don't know what, you know. But this woman just wanted to be full of the knowledge of the universe and to be able to express it with the human body, because that was the modality she knows.
You think maybe the state of enlightenment isn't for everybody?
It can't be, because a lot of people don't get there.
Is that because of the karmic path, or is that genuinely that some people's purpose or drive is just wherever they, like, I don't know.
I think that's true. I think you're right. It's like I was talking about the brothers creating each other, like the siblings create each other. You know, you have the arsonist and the firefighter every time. You're going to have groups of people who are like, look at that enlightened guy, me too, please. And then there are going to be people who are like, yeah, like, fuck that guy, he's a shill, or I don't need to, like, I'm double enlightened because you think you understand it? I still got to work, bro. I still got to do my jazz, and you're all over there with your flowers on your feet and your eyes rolling back of your head or whatever, however you picture enlightenment. That's me, man. I picture just a freaky dude with flowers on his feet going hot.
That's interesting.
We're about an hour and a half.
Sounds good. Well, we'll leave that question for another day. I'd love to explore that.
What is enlightenment? I have personally found some direction in my life recently, because I have none ever, because I don't care about goals. That's a problem. I'm working on it. But that's kind of this little intention that's like a life intention. Small and ambiguous now, but it runs my life, and it's such an easier way to live. And it's like, I want to just be a good person to people, and I want to figure myself out. And I'm kind of like that. What was her name in the show?
That's the
Leilani, Milani.
That's the 1 million list. That's the show you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But I just had this recent realization where I have like a raison d'être a little bit, and a lot of it has to do with enlightenment. It's like a pretentious thing that I pushed away, but it's like, this is personal. Like this is the region of myself that's like fuck everybody else, and which is ironic, but anyway, it's
in a loving way.
It's not touched. Yeah, it's like this is for me.
Yeah,
this
is your path.
Yeah, there's no polarity there. There's a place in me where there's no polarity, and in there I have an intention to expand myself and to not be a dick and to help other people do that.
It's funny that mindset it's like completely for yourself, but it's actually as in service for everyone else around you.
Yeah, it's both. That's why solipsism doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just me here and you're all a dream, a dog's dream, or maybe vice versa. I don't know. Or like maybe there's just this infinite divide, and even though we are all here, we can't touch in that unpolarized sense, you know, but so the fuck what? You know? Yeah. There's islands and there's oceans.
I would look
Which
at
one
it,
are we?
Yeah, and I look at it as if so what? It's in everyone's best interest to improve yourself and to make it a more pleasant experience for each other and ourselves.
Yeah, that's general enough for everyone to agree, right? It's like, yeah, why wouldn't I just make shit better?
No,
like,
fuck you, I want to make this hell for you.
But
you might get some people like that.
It was tongue in cheek. There are a lot of people, and I've been there, where I was like, no, I'm the asshole. You're like, I'm the bad guy.
Well, that's a bigger conversation. Pain seeks pain a lot of the time, and anger seeks more anger.
Yeah, it's a justification.
Yeah.
You know, we're not forgiving ourselves, and we don't even know how. So we go, oh, okay, I'm gonna own it. That's the ego saying, oh, I meant to do that.
Yeah.
And it's like
this defines me.
Yeah.
This is me, and that's the fucking ego. Oh. Okay, everyone, we love you all.
Chew on that, bitches.
Episode 49, brother. Good for you.
Stay curious.
Yeah, man.
Oh, that's a Rogan move we just did.
Yeah.
Don't sue us. We love you.
Honestly, though, we do love you all, and episode 50 is going to be epic.
Joe Rogan included. We love you, bro.